Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Adubato. We're honored to be joined by the Honorable State Assemblyman Raj Mukherji, who is the State Assemblyman in the 33rd Legislative District. Good to see you, Assemblyman.
Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Listen, I disclose all kinds of things here, potential conflicts, relationships, but I need to disclose, and we'll do this in post-production. I swear we're going to get to affordability, taxes, a whole range of childcare, important issues. You just said to me, this is not the first time you've been on with me. You were on when you were 15?
That's right. Yeah, 23 years ago.
And you're on because you're a young entrepreneur, is that right?
Yeah, I had a software and internet business at the time, and you had me on the Caucus, New Jersey show.
You've clearly done well. And the fact that you're dedicating yourself to public service speaks volumes. Hey, listen, the term affordability means different things to different people. Assemblyman, what does it mean to you?
Affordability to me means starting with the fundamentals: food, housing, education, healthcare. That you should be able to access these things in a first world democracy such as ours and an affluent state such as New Jersey.
Why has affordability been such a problem in this state? I mean, property taxes, we know what they are, gas prices across the country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Property values, if you will, or purchasing a home. Everyone knows how difficult it is. But the bottom line is people are leaving New Jersey. Forget about the debate about that. There are people leaving New Jersey and more will leave. One action that you believe will help reduce the flow of people paying important taxes to the state, revenue to the state, reduce that flow?
Well, on the one hand, inflation, supply chain, gas prices, all of these challenges, these myriad challenges that New Jerseyans aren't just facing, but Americans and people throughout the world, right? That's just if we freeze this moment in time. But the property tax issue is one that preceded the global pandemic that we've been dealing with and has led people to leave New Jersey. I don't doubt that for one moment. And that's why I think this budget, not just the governor's proposal, but what legislative leadership, Senate President Scutari, Speaker Coughlin announced together with the governor within the past week or two as of the time of filming, means that we will be delivering the most direct cash relief in this budget through the accelerated anchor property tax relief program than ever before. It's historic, and working families are going to see over 2 million working families in New Jersey and middle-class families are going to receive up to $1,500 in direct property tax relief, up to $450 in rental assistance. And in a state where our average property tax bill is almost $10,000, that's an almost 20% reduction.
Sorry for interrupting, Assemblyman. Let's be clear. We're taping at the end of June. We always put the date up so people know. The budget will be struck by the last day of June legally, hopefully, or the government shuts down. We know that. We've been there before. Yeah. That being said, this will be seen after. This anchor property tax program, you are arguing that direct property tax, now, is that a check that goes to these families?
That's right. It's going to be a rebate. And
one second, who qualifies and who doesn't?
It's going to reach the vast majority of property tax payers. I think $150,000 is the household income limit for $1,500. I think if you make between $150,000 and $250,000, you will receive a $1,000 property tax rebate. And renters, tenants with incomes up to $150,000 are going to receive a $450 direct cash rebate.
But here's the question I want to ask you. There are some who argue, you know what? There's a lot, the state is flush right now. Federal money has come in, the COVID money, the federal relief money, things are good, tax revenues are good, but peaks and valleys, things go up and down. So Assemblyman, for those who say it's not the time to be spending that money, it's the time to be putting that money in the so-called rainy day fund for when that downtime hits, you say?
I think both things can be true without being in conflict. In other words, we are seeing a record level of surplus in our revenue collections, but we're going to see a right sizing of those revenue collections in the months and years ahead. You know, as we face the high inflation, rising interest rates, rising costs of borrowing. So I think that it does make sense to shore up the rainy day flood, since our own economists and the state treasury folks and the legislative budget folks all are warning us that we might enter into an economic downturn as early as over the next year, right? So it makes sense to do that. But at the same time, while New Jerseyans are facing these rising costs, it makes sense, since we have it, to deliver direct relief and cut their property tax bill. And we want to get to the point where, instead of offering rebates, and we're doing that, we over the past couple of years, we have made record investments in terms of debt defeasance, in terms of our school funding, in terms of...
Hold on. Respectfully, Assemblyman, school funding, some school funding has been cut. You're over in the Jersey City area. I don't know what your situation is. I think there have been some cuts in your community. I know there have been cuts in my community. So if in fact we're flush, why is state funding to certain school districts being reduced?
Absolutely right. I had a bill in that would actually fix that in terms of the allocation. I'm talking about the big picture, the aggregate
spending more, but some districts lose, some gain. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Absolutely right. And unfortunately, impoverished districts, former Abbott districts, and other districts have faced cuts. And I have a proposal in a legislative fix to that, which would ensure that no district receives below their previous fiscal year's allocation, or their pre-pandemic allocation.
Real quick, we're doing a series, an ongoing series, 3 or 4 years now. Reimagine childcare, affordable, accessible childcare. Give me 30 seconds or less on one action that you believe needs to be done, because that's an economic and affordability issue as well.
Yeah, expansion of the child care tax credits, shoring up our child care providers to make sure that if they face another challenge like the pandemic or closures, we have enough child care available to everybody. And having it available only makes sense if it's accessible to everybody. That's a fundamental challenge for folks getting back to work, for folks for households having double incomes at a time when they need it. And so making sure childcare is accessible to all and affordable for all is important. We're doing that with expanding our early childhood education, with expanding pre-K, and several other steps in terms of investments, where we're also leveraging federal dollars.
Assemblyman, I was remiss. I just want to also clarify before I let you go that you are part of the joint Asian Pacific American Caucus in the state legislature. I believe there are 7 members in that delegation, correct?
That's right, for the first time. Used to be just 2 of us.
Yeah, well, we need a lot more diversity in the legislature and at every level of government. Assemblyman, I cannot thank you enough for joining us. We appreciate it. Do not let it be 24 more years before you join us. You were 15, and now you can do the math after that. No one should go on Wikipedia and look at the math on my end. Assemblyman, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All the best.
Thanks, Steve. You too.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Atlantic Health System, the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, New Brunswick Development Corporation, Choose New Jersey, Veolia, Operating Engineers, Local 825, NJM Insurance Group, New Jersey's Clean Energy Program, and by the New Jersey Education Association. Promotional support provided by NJ.com and by Insider NJ.
NJM Insurance Company has been serving New Jersey policyholders for more than 100 years. But just who are NJM's policyholders? They're the men and women who teach our children, the public sector employees who maintain our infrastructure, the workers who craft our manufactured goods, and New Jersey's next generation of leaders, the people who make our state a great place to call home. NJM, we've got New Jersey covered.